This is John Duggan's music, and a very good morning to you, John. Hello, John.
Owen and Johnny, how are you doing?
How are you, John?
Good, thanks.
We're winding down, John. It's almost the end of the road. It's been emotional, as we've said multiple times in the show. You're looking ahead to the World Cup final this weekend, of course, but have you got a chance to have a bit more of a look around Moscow and what it has to offer over the last 24 hours?
Yeah, I saw this, I can't really pronounce it, but a Sartinio Palace, most beautiful park that I was in yesterday. I walked around that on a beautiful day as well, and a beautiful day again this morning. So a little bit of downtime yesterday afternoon, but it's very much been on the surface, and that's enough actually, to be honest. When you're working, it's a surface look at a beautiful city in parts, Moscow. So went out of the city into the suburbs yesterday and had a walk around. But yeah, obviously you're trying to keep your mind on the press conferences and the matches, and looking forward to what I would call in my own mind the pinnacle of earth, which is the World Cup final. I don't think there's anything bigger in the world than the World Cup final.
What about Cheltenham, John?
No, the World Cup final, Johnny. As much as I love Cheltenham, from a purist and as a racing fan and as a journalist, I think the World Cup final. I'm interested in.
If I get a few
global
points,
sports.
If I get John for a few points in Cheltenham next year, he'll agree that I was right all along.
No, I don't you see, I don't drink here and I don't drink at Cheltenham, Johnny. So you're never going to get me for pints there in either place. So the World Cup final is to me, since I was 7 years of age, watching Diego Maradona in 1986 has been the pinnacle for me. You know.
86. That obviously you just mentioned there is your first World Cup final. Remembering 3-2 against West Germany. Like I think for a lot of people who tell me about 86 being the first tournament they remember, they also kind of refer to it in the sense of Italia 90 and the game against Cameroon, and essentially not winning that tournament as kind of like a realisation of the mortality of Diego Maradona. I'm not sure if you thought about it that deeply as a child, though, John.
I just remember as a child getting for the first time a Panini album. Now, I didn't fit it, but the novelty of a Panini album in 1986, and also the times of the games. They're on, like, some of them late at night in Ireland, and you're watching this exotic place with beautiful sunshine and huge crowds and the Mexican wave and Diego Maradona. And I was just utterly fascinated by it. And it was such an exciting final. Argentina went, you won't remember, Owen, or I don't know if you remember, Johnny, but they were 2-0 up, they were cruising, and then West Germany scored 2 late goals, Rudi Völler the second one. And then Argentina, Burruchaga got the winner, and it was just, wow, this is unbelievable to watch this as a young boy. Italia 90 I remember more vividly because I was really hooked on it by then, and obviously the Republic of Ireland had her greatest run at the World Cup, reaching the quarterfinals. And the final itself that year was very poor. It was an awful game. There were sendings off. It was an ugly match, and Andy Brehma scored the winner from the penalty spot after Jurgen Klinsmann, who fell in the box, but VAR wouldn't allow it these days. So the great memories of World Cup finals, Italy, Brazil, 4 years later, Baggio kicking his spot kick over the bar to lose it, Zidane in 98, and then Zidane in 2006 being sent off in the final against Italy. We had, I remember, Andres Iniesta 8 years ago, with that beautiful tribute to Danny Arce when he pulled off his shirt 4 minutes from penalties, scoring against the Netherlands, and then Mario Götze once again in extra time 4 years ago. So just the World Cup final, every one, even if you might not like the teams, or some years you have more interest than others, it's always a standout event that I think generally what I'm saying, lads, is I always remember where I am when the World Cup final is on or where I'm watching it. You're
going to be watching it in Luzhniki this weekend, John?
I'm hoping so. We'll see what the situation is with passes and that, but I'm hoping so. So we'll keep the fingers crossed. And France-Croatia is such a novel pairing, 2 European teams again. 1998 met in the semi-final. That was a very high-intensity game. Lilian Thuram, a defender who'd never scored for France, scoring twice in the match. That was bizarre. Laurent Blanc was sent off. Once again, VAR wouldn't allow it because Slaven Bilic went down like he'd been assassinated. So it was a great tournament for Croatia, and it's amazing that 20 years on they've reached a final for such a small country.
Yeah, it is remarkable. It's a sense that the whole world is kind of behind this Croatian team, but at the same time, part of me kind of wants this French team to actually go and fulfill their golden generation. There's something a little bit heartbreaking when you think about the sullen face of Lionel Messi and his supposed golden generation of Argentina never reaching the promised lands. Like we talked about England having an opportunity on the easy side of the draw, but this is also one hell of an opportunity for France, let's not forget.
Well, I want winners to win, and I would like the underdog tale of Croatia is great. but I want winners to win. And I think that France, to me, it just feels right that France would win the World Cup with the talent and the team they have, and the balance of the team. So
it's very hard not to see it, John, as well. When you just go 1-11, they're a fair bit better than Croatia, and they're playing accordingly.
Yes, I was looking through weaknesses in the French team, and there's not many. Maybe Pavard and Perisic, that could be a battle that French might find difficult to contain. But I'm just looking at N'Golo Kante is just going to track Luka Modric for the match, you'd expect. And Kante and Pogba together are very strong. Matuidi's been playing well. And then you have Mbappe's pace against Ivan Strinic. I just can't see Croatia with fatigue. Definitely has to be an issue. People say it won't be, but it has to be an issue. England didn't have a midfield the other night. France have a midfield just as good as Croatia's, or on a par with Croatia's. And with Mbappe in the team, if they can get the ball to him, as I have said against the England game, could have been 2 or 3-0 up. France have to attack Croatia with pace early on. I don't know if that means Matuidi will be in the team, or they might like the look of the Dembele's, Nabil Fekir, or Thomas Lemar. But I expect he won't make any changes. Matuidi and Deschamps, he's been one of his favourite players, as has Giroud. So I wouldn't expect many changes. But I can see almost like a functional French win. I think if France score, I think it'll be hard for Croatia to break them down. And I can see a 2-0 win, or a 1-0 or a 2-0 win for France. So I just think it's the end of the road for Croatia. I think they've done extremely well to get here, but going to extra time 3 times in a row does say to me that there's a little bit of a weakness there. And I think that'll be borne out on Sunday. And I think France deservedly will win the World Cup, because I think they've been the best team in the World Cup. I thought Brazil would win it, but then Brazil's frailties were exposed in the quarterfinal. Who's
been your player of the tournament so far, John?
It's a hard one to call, lads. I think Luka Modric at the moment. I think Mbappe is a sensational talent, and I'm really enjoying watching him play football. But I suppose for the journey to get Croatia to a World Cup final, Luka Modric has to be up there, even if they lose the final. He's been just, what a leader, and even against England, the way he just got them back into the game with just complete composure on the ball that he's shown. And I think he's just. It was when you read about the story of Luka Modric, that his grandfather was killed in the conflict with Serbia in the early 1990s, and he had a tough upbringing, and he's been a great club player, and he's really prospered since leaving Tottenham for Real Madrid. And I just think he's carried Croatia in a way to the final, and he's a tragic hero if it all goes wrong. And if they win it, it'll be but it's such a glorious thing for a country the size of ours. So it's between Modric and Mbappe in my head, but journalists can be funny, or I don't know who actually votes on it. I think it might be journalists, but I think it was Zidane got it in 2006, and they voted at half-time in the final. That's what I heard, the story, and maybe Cannavaro should have got it then. So sometimes the players you don't expect to win it, like Oliver Kahn, do win it, but don't know what you think, but I think Mbappe or Modric are the two. But as I posed this question the other day, would France win the World Cup without Mbappe? Possibly. And that's where, Pogba, Varane and Conte would also be contenders. Yeah, and Eden Hazard's had a really good World Cup as well.
Yeah, it's a good point on the winning without the player. Just a comment in here from Noel Cahill on Twitter. He says, really going to miss John's reports from Russia. Can you please send him somewhere else to report live from other such historical countries? That would be your dream job, John, a history/sports reporter.
Is Cheltenham a country? No, thank you, Noel. That's a very nice thing for you to say. The World Cup is just, I suppose what I'm very thankful for is to be able to see Russia the way I've seen it. I've been to 6 cities, and just everyone had a little bit of story and a bit of different history, like Kaliningrad, for example, or Nizhny Novgorod being closed cities that were under Soviet rule that foreigners could not go to, and Moscow and St. Petersburg are very, very different places. And obviously, I think we have. I don't think people fed out of love with international football. But I think that it's been a little bit in the shadow of the club game in the last, say, 10 years. And I think this has rekindled the interest, even though Ireland have not been in the World Cup, of people's joy for the international football. Not necessarily from an aesthetic football point of view, but from a drama and excitement point of view. That the best players in the world, Messi, Ronaldo, as much as they can try as hard as they can't win a World Cup. It's sad but it's just the purity of the international game, that it is a game where you can't transfer between countries unless you're Diego Costa. And that's what I love about the international game, is the purity of it, and it's the stories that are written. And there being some great stories in this World Cup. I think Mexico was a great story. Germany being knocked out, that was an amazing story. Croatia's journey has been fantastic. England's journey has been great to follow. Brazil once again failing to a European team. So there's so many stories, and when I look back, it's Belgium, the golden generation, not doing it, and there's only going to be one winner out of 32 teams. And I think it's probably something we need to analyse ourselves in Ireland, that having been here for a month, you have to be at a World Cup. It'll be easier when we get to 48 teams, but we should be striving to reach World Cups. If Croatia can do it, if Iceland can do it, we can do it, and we should be doing it. I know we have rugby, I know we have Gaelic games, but we should be striving and doing everything we can to reach major international tournaments. And that'll be a strong view I'd have, because we've missed out on an amazing party here.
Yeah, no, it's certainly kind of pervaded us over here. The fun you're having over there, John, and the great cities you've been to, we wish we were there. Just one last thing, you're back home for the Open next week. It's not all doom and gloom when you do return home, and you're saying Ricky Fowler's going to win it, John. We saw you on Twitter yesterday, so that's the next job for you.
I think Ricky Fowler, he did a 64 or something yesterday at the Scottish Open. Ricky Fowler loves the wind, nearly won the Masters, and I suppose you're trying to keep in touch with other sports. I don't really know what much was going on in Gaelic games. I think Galway won the other day, Johnny. But you're trying to keep actually away from sport. But I just do feel that Ricky Fowler has been in my head to win the Open. So that's what I'll be doing. I'll be looking forward to watching the Open next week. But France, guys, I think will win it on Sunday. I think they'll cap a magical World Cup with a victory, and I expect it to be a normal time. And Paul Pogba, just in my mind, there's something in my head that's saying that Paul Pogba might get a goal on Sunday, given all the criticism he's had and the excellent World Cup that he's had. But I wouldn't begrudge Croatia victory either. It's an amazing story for a country that has had a lot of pain and a lot of suffering 25, 30 years ago. And the story of Croatia was, in a way, started. Their independence was rooted in a football match. Dinamo Zagreb and Red Star Belgrade, the clash they had in 1990, Boban getting involved, and it's worth following for anybody just to delve into that history. It's an interesting, and I think that Croatian football identity has been very much linked to the country's passion, and I wouldn't begrudge them a win, but I think France will do it on Sunday.
Well, hopefully you get into the Luzhniki, John, and enjoy the match if you do. We'll chat to you soon.
Owen and Johnny, take care. Thank you.